Our next speaker is a security mentalist, an intellectual who uses game theory and math to predict and to influence the future. Gary Chan uses these skills to build avant-garde security programs, harden organizations against advanced persistent adversaries. Gary is trained in behavioral profiling, conflict management, negotiation, interrogation, and mediation. When used properly, these skills are incredibly useful for obtaining buy-in for departmental budget increases or obtaining confessions from insider threats. Today, Gary is going to demonstrate these skills in a fun and highly interactive way. I saw it firsthand. My mind is still blown. Please welcome to the stage, Gary Chan.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing? Having a good time? Awesome. Well, my name is Gary Chan, and I am a mentalist. So the type of mentalism that I specialize in is the art of human psychology in order to influence people without them even knowing it. And I call this the power of hidden influence. How many of you would like to influence people without them even knowing it? That's a very small number of you. Are most of you still eating? All right, let's try this again. How many of you would like to influence people without them even knowing it? Because I'm expecting everybody to be raising their hands. That is something that we want to all be able to do. And of course, cybersecurity people put a slightly different twist on it, and they call it social engineering. Now, I believe that we are influenced by invisible forces all day long. And if we understand what those forces are, then we can also better understand how we, as people, make our decisions. We're influenced by the people around us. Just look at the people at your table. We're influenced by the way that we think, by where and when we grew up, by all sorts of a number of things, societal norms included. And today, I'm going to demonstrate to you how all of these things come together in order to influence us into making decisions that we do every day without us even knowing it. So this is not just a presentation. As Rennie said, this is a highly interactive experience. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be bringing up you, people from the audience, to come here on stage. None of this has been scripted. I don't even know what's going to happen. But I can tell you that nobody's going to cluck like a chicken. I'm not a hypnotist. Nobody's going to disappear. I am not a magician. I'm a mentalist. So we're just going to play some psychological sort of banter and have a good time. Does that sound good to you? Fantastic. There are only 2 rules for today. The first rule is when I ask for a volunteer, please raise your hand straight into the sky to let me know that you're ready to have a good time. Then I'm going to pull you onto the stage. Not yet, sir, but thank you. I like that enthusiasm. Everybody should be like that gentleman right there. It's more fun when we have volunteers. Otherwise, if I'm reading my own mind, it's really not that impressive, I'm told. The second rule for today is if you see something astonishing or something that you really enjoy, please clap, because then I know that you're having a good time. Otherwise, I'm just going to exit right. We are going to run a little bit over today, so if you do need to get out, that's totally fine. I totally understand. But we are going to run a little bit over on the schedule today with my routines. Okay, to get us first started, we're going to do something that all of you can participate in. So I'm not calling for volunteers. You're going to do it at your own table. If you have a pen and paper, you can use it. You don't need to. You can certainly do this all in your mind as well, because that's what this is about. In a moment, I'm going to be displaying a slide onto the screens over here, and they're going to have some instructions on it. Very simple. I will also verbally tell you the same instructions at the same time. Okay? Are you ready to go? Fantastic. Pick a number between 2 and 10. Do this in your mind. take that number and multiply it by 9 to create a new number. Take that new number and add the digits to create a new number. Take that number and subtract 5 to create a new number. Remember that number. We're now going to convert it into a letter. The number 1 is an A, 2 is a B, 3 is a C, and so on and so forth. You should now have a letter. Take that letter and think of a country that begins with that letter. Take the last letter of that country and think of an animal that begins with that letter. Take the last letter of that animal and think of a color that begins with that letter. Okay. What are you thinking? Of an orange kangaroo in Denmark? Okay, well, how did this happen, right? You really did have a free choice. I didn't tell you what number to pick. You went through a series and you converted that to a letter. I asked you to think of a country. You could have thought of any number of countries. You could have thought of the Dominican Republic or Dominica. You could have thought of Djibouti if you knew that it started with the letter D. But you thought of Denmark. Why is that? Most of you should have thought of Denmark. I don't know why, but that's what we do here in America. If we're in Africa, we would have probably picked a different country. But here in America, I can count on this to basically always work. Then I asked you to take the last letter of Denmark and think of an animal. And the majority of you thought of a kangaroo. Again, don't know why, but that's what people think of when they're here in America. If I was in China and doing this, I would be looking for koala bear or koala, depending upon the situation. And then the last letter of kangaroo is an O, so you end up with orange. Social engineering, or hidden influence as I call it, really boils down to statistics. It's about what people do when we don't think. How many of you have done something just out of habit when you really shouldn't have? For example, click on a phishing link? Yeah. We are influenced every day by our situations and by things that happen around us, by societal norms. And we as adults are subject to that even more so than younger children. For example, if you were trying to predict what I was going to wear today, well, you could have predicted that I was going to wear a swimsuit, or t-shirt and jeans, or maybe shorts. How many of you would have predicted that? Probably nobody in this room, right? Because we've all been to a conference before. So really, the only choice I had was what color suit to wear because I was going to wear a suit. And if you happened to have been to my house, you would know that I own 6 suits in my closet. So if you knew that piece of information, now you already knew that I was going to wear one of exactly 6 suits. So with a little bit of information, you've just reduced the number of infinite possibilities to 6. And then if you knew me really well, then you would know that I was going to wear exactly this, because that's exactly what's in the photo that you guys have seen in all of the conference brochures and all the other things, because I always have subtle influence in everything that I do. Why? I don't know, just fun. So, between free will and fate, with a show of hands, how many of you believe in free will? Between free will and fate, how many of you believe in fate? Okay? Well, of the two, I believe in free will. But I believe in a very limited form of free will, based on what we've just talked about and what I'm about to demonstrate to you throughout the next hour.